All right, you're on.
This is House Education, Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. We are walking through what currently exists in our miscellaneous education bill, and we'll talk a little bit about additions to it. But it's more of a reminder to get us prepared to deal with it however we might next week. That's really why I called this all together. So if Legislative Council wouldn't mind just sort of walking us through it, that would be great.
Beth St. James, Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm just signing into Zoom.
And you know, what's in here currently, some of it, I feel like we've resolved. Some of it we have not. We haven't even revisited it in a while.
Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Did you post this?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So do something I never do and spend some time in the statement of purpose just so you can see what's in here now. So you're creating the moratorium, the exemption to the moratorium on new approved independent school applications when it's a therapeutic approved independent school that experiences a change in ownership. Half of this bill at this point is the Interstate Compact for Education that you were once a member of, haven't been a member of for many years. This would adopt and have Vermont rejoin. We have skimmed that language before, but we've never really done a deep dive on it. And then what's new to this draft is the BOCES to CESA change, which is an excessive amount of pages, but all it is replacing boards of cooperative educational services with cooperative educational service areas. And then the fourth discrete topic in here is language you have not seen, but we've kind of danced around. And that is essentially a hold harmless provision regarding when class size minimums, not necessarily when they're going to be taking effect, but when failure to follow class size minimums or comply with class size minimums could be held against state school.
Does that basically mean we're taking a pause on there'll be work towards?
We'll wait to get to that section.
Okay, sorry.
And this is just my first attempt at putting something together for you. This is the process where we get to decide if you like it or how to change it. What would you like to do? You want to just go through the whole thing or go right to the new stuff?
No, let's go. So let's start at the top.
Okay, section 1 is the approved independent school moratorium exception. So you've got the independent school moratorium that was created in the budget in 2023. And then last year, your miscellaneous ed bill added subsection B regarding an exception for a change in tax status. And this year's miscellaneous bill is proposing to create another exemption. So the moratorium on approval of new independent schools would not apply to changes in ownership for a therapeutic approved independent school. And if submission of an application for initial approval is required as a result of a change in ownership, and the school at the time of the change in ownership was already in a therapeutic approved independent school, then the moratorium created pursuant to subsection A, which says no new initial applications, would not apply to that specific situation. And the state board and agency would be required to process the application according to applicable law.
Yep. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah. Setting aside all your language and looking at you, because it's just easier for me to do it this way.
Yeah, this is a lot of words there.
There are, and I guess here's my I want to make sure there, in my mind, I want to make sure there's boundaries around what you can do once this applies. So my understanding of the request is because there is a therapeutic school who wants to continue to be a therapeutic school, but has changed ownership. So essentially, the independent school selling to another owner of a therapeutic independent school. Does this language have just the boundaries around that specific thing? So what I'm asking is, can they get new ownership and then change?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I don't know that the language contemplates that as drafted. I think you could easily insert, so there's a requirement that in order for this exception to apply, they have to have already been a therapeutic approved independent school.
But
So I think we can just add similar language, maybe even just at the end of section 19, say something like, provided that the initial application, this section shall only apply if the change in, something to the effect of the school stays a therapeutic approved independent school.
Great.
Yeah, I don't think that-
That would be great. to
They
add.
have to go to the state board of ed has to approve it too, so. Right, so couldn't they? I mean, like, having the language in there would solidify it more.
And I think you want the language because this is all a matter of interpretation of rules. And so the less wiggle room you have, the more likely it is you will receive the outcome that you are expecting.
So, I missed the testimony when we had the special educators in talking about, I know some of the questioning was sort of about this specific issue. What was the sense of the committee from that testimony, that this is important to do? Wasn't really on their radar?
I mean, I would say I think I hate to speak for them again, but I remember them speaking to the fact that they think that there's a need for actually more independence, more therapeutic schools in general.
In some areas.
In some areas.
That's absolutely what I got too
Yeah, right.
from them, but the angle was just trying to meet these students.
Sure.
This is a completely different angle, and I don't remember hearing beyond saying, yeah, well, we don't want to lose an independent school, so.
No, but going,
Yeah.
that's what I'm building on, that to this actual, if they're saying there's a need for more independent, more therapeutic schools, I imagine that they would be fine with us just allowing an independent school basically to continue, is what we're really doing. It's being sold in therapeutic.
Yeah.
Therapeutic, sorry.
You mean the language that I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, from my understanding of this particular circumstance, a whole lot about it is that the one that is being purchased would otherwise close.
Right.
Yes. Now, the buyer of it, I don't know if it's an in-state, out-of-state entity. But just go ahead and mention that.
All right, I've used my pink pen to make a note. Next draft will have the language. Any other discussion on this section?
The only thing I would throw out there for the committee to contemplate, I don't have any real opinion on it. If you really want to have it in further, you could say, as long as if we want to limit it to just the non-profit world, but that may be sticky in terms of like saying who gets it, who doesn't, based on whether they're profit or non-profit.
Are some of the therapeutic schools for profit?
Many of them are
Oh,
for-profit.
okay.
Do we know if the one that's requesting this isn't?
My understanding is that the one that is closing down is for-profit, and the entity that would like to take it over is non-profit.
I don't think we should get that restrictive to go non-profit or for-profit, but you might get yourself in a situation where nobody wants to purchase it and it has to close down.
Well, then, then I started thinking like, well, is it really? Then we're getting pretty control of that, as you say. Yeah. It was in my, I want to get that one out of my mouth. Great, thank you.
Okay. So section 2 is adoption of the Interstate Compact for Education. So you would be adding a new chapter. So everything in section 2 is new language. You're adding a chapter, chapter 35 to title 16. This is the same chapter that the Education Compact lived in when you belonged to it prior to the early 90s.
Is there any, I don't want to make you go into walking us through this detail by detail. Was there anything in this language that raised any questions for you?
Nope.
It's pretty,
I don't believe it's changed much, if at all, since Vermont was a member.
Yeah.
I'm happy
no
to.
unintended consequences that you see here.
I have not identified any. I will continue to think about that as we work on this bill before you vote it out. I have not identified any.
It all
And
seems like it's about the operations of the commission itself.
correct. My understanding is that Vermont has not been a member for decades at this point, since the early to mid 90s. Yet we have continued to send, I don't know the right word, liaisons, trustees, commissioners, whatever. And I think it is legally tenuous for those folks to be participating because we are not members of the compact. And so if they are taking any action on behalf of the state, are they authorized to be doing that, et cetera? So I actually see this, if you want to continue to participate, as actually being quite protective of your ability to continue to participate. But I will continue to think about unintended consequences. Excuse me, sorry. I believe there's a membership fee.
Which sort of, on the other side of things, we should point out, we are paying and really don't have any power or, sort of government control.
I remember that my recollection was that we paid it, but not necessarily every time and at the right amount.
We paid
It's been sporadic.
Yeah.
It's very off. So nice,
There has been-
a little more formal.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I will continue to think about unintended consequences. If you read this and you have any questions, you know how to find me. So we're going to jump to page 15. If you haven't come to visit me in my office yet, I have candy and goldfish
Yeah.
available.
Real or edible?
See,
Oh, wow.
I would, now that I'm gonna think about getting a pet in the office.
Mhm.
Okay. Section 3 amends all of chapter 10, which is your formerly BOCES chapter. Now you're, what are we saying? Seesaw?
Seesaw. Seesaw, like on a playground.
Seesaw.
The pronunciation in the draft.
We're not going to argue over the pronunciation.
Okay. All section 3 does is replace boards of cooperative education services with cooperative educational service areas. And then there are a bunch of conforming changes. Anywhere else, the term BOCES appeared in Title 16 or a couple other sections. And that, let's see, we scroll to section 4, starts on page 25, line 5. This is the transition report.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm still right up at the very top.
Okay.
And I'm just want an explanation of why it says cooperative educational service as opposed to education.
Oh, I thought that was the word we were using.
I
but
don't
if it's
know. I'm
not-
asking, I'm literally, I'm just asking, it changed from education service to educational service. And I'm curious
Where-
about how we want it.
Maybe we need to go to the national organization's website and see what the term is that is most used, or what was used in the redistricting task force.
I think I remember no AL on it, the education.
I thought it was
Just education, okay.
But I'm
That's
not-
my recollection, I could be wrong.
Nope. I will verify that and make conforming changes. So that's an easy one to do. So the same changes, so we can just pretend it says education for the sake of this discussion. So if you jump to page 25, Section 4 is, this is the session law from Act 168, which created BOCES for the report back. And so just updating that language and to reflect the correct term. No substantive changes there. Same in section 5 on page 26, the BOCES grant program. Oh, look at that. I need to make that
Red line.
CESA.
I think it is with a,
Are you looking at the redistricting task force or at the national organization website? We got appendix E handy. I got it.
Cooperative education service areas. Education, oh. Right,
there you go. That's what we call it.
that's the task force.
That's a task.
So, the question, is, so
Right.
the national organization, this is really, but we may as well just do this once.
Do you remember what the national organization is called? I'll just Google it right now.
Yes.
It's the AESA.
You know,
What is it?
American Educational Service
Yeah.
Association.
That's good.
Association of Educational Service Agencies.
Oh, Association of
It's not.
Okay.
That's definitely, yeah.
And the director of that was very clear that it's called many things in many places. Kate, what were you basing yours on?
Well, I was on our regional something. But it was talking about. How they had been around for 50 years. Our regional education service center. As part of a cooperative educational service.
I don't care what you pick. This is-
I totally understand this is not your call.
And I brought it up, so I
It's
just
in
wanted,
Connecticut.
I just want to say, I don't care which it is, I just don't want us to have to change it again.
Exactly, no, let's
So
pick
I
one and go with
brought
it.
up Because there were two ways of saying this, so I don't care which direction.
Okay, so I would say, I'm a little hesitant to use the word agencies. That's got a bigger bureaucratic name.
I thought it was areas.
Did you say, yeah, Rob said area.
Yeah.
That's-
I thought we were debating educational versus
We
education.
were, but then we went here and the word agency is up there.
Oh, you guys were, I do remember you were very clear in discussion the last time you talked about this, that you wanted area and not agency.
Okay, so we are only debating the AL.
Well, you can change your minds.
No, don't let us.
I don't want to make her change it unless.
Oh.
Do we need to straw poll this?
Areas.
No
Why
AL.
don't we just, we're not voting on this today, why don't we just let think?
Okay, everybody has to give it a big think over the break.
Oh.
I mean, we can ask our constituents.
Oh my God, I wish I'd never brought it up.
Maybe they can send out an action alert.
Oh my God.
You're the chair of the committee, you go ahead and decide.
It's just no one asked for a floor amendment. It was
Oh,
just-
God.
We'll have the V's in to testify on this.
Do you want me to make any changes prior to town meeting week? No, okay. Okay, so we're on page 26. We've made conforming amendments to the BOCES grant language, and then we get into a bunch of conforming amendments where BOCES is mentioned elsewhere. So the duties of a supervisory union board, section 7 is related to contracts, and then we've got retirement stuff, and then we've got healthcare. And bargaining. So all of these are just amendments to the same statutes that were amended in Act 168 to add BOCES, only now we're changing the term. And then we get to page 33, the last section, substantive section, section 13, which is for lack of a better way to put it, the hold harmless language. Do you want to pause and talk about anything related to BOCES seesaws? Okay. So section 13, what I've done, and I think there are many ways you can do it, this keeps the language in one place, but technically you could add separate session law, so, but someone then would have to know that both of them existed. So what I've done is I've amended Act 73, Section 7, which is that prohibits the secretary from ordering, or the state board from ordering consolidation for failure to comply with class size minimums until the General Assembly establishes essentially school construction. Right? You don't want to order consolidate. You don't want the state board to order consolidation if it's going to then churn up construction costs that no one can afford. And then so I've added a new subsection here, another kind of exception to the class size minimums that says notwithstanding, and these references are the class size minimums themselves and the recourse for not following it. So notwithstanding those pieces of law, a school's failure to comply with class size minimum requirements shall not count towards the 3 consecutive school years of non-compliance that enables the secretary to recommend action to the state board until the state board adopts updates to EQS to reflect class size minimums, or, and then I just arbitrarily picked a date, July 1, 2027, whichever date shall come first.
Okay, so we'll pop quiz time. Jana, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing the language that Beth just read?
Yeah.
We are talking about school construction aid being a necessary prerequisite before school consolidation.
Anybody else want to chime in on the question?
That was the
Because I'm not presenting this on the floor.
wasn't that the answer?
The answer has nothing to do with school construction.
Oh,
Class size
sorry.
minimums.
Class size minimum.
Oh,
Right, but isn't it?
I lost.
No. So everybody needs to understand what we're doing here. It's not a big thing with lots of consequences, but we should all understand what we have in here. We have a bit of a conflict in that the law, the statute that we passed in Act 73 says the class size minimums, the law starts July 1st, 2026. The rules to be developed by the State Board of Education have not been developed yet.
Oh, right.
And the point is should we sync those up? Is the reason to do this, to say, okay, let's hold off on enforcing class size minimums until the rules are all in place. We don't have to do this.
For 1 year, or the July 1st, 2027.
Right. Well, it could be until the rules are in place, or 2027, January 1st. So that's why we're doing it. We don't have to do it. But that's the why. Yes. Go ahead.
I'll just say, I think, having heard from folks ask me this question, like, why the heck don't you put this into effect when the rules aren't even in place? I think we should do it in alignment. It doesn't make sense to have conflict like that. And I'll just add one more thing. This has created quite a significant amount of angst right from day one when we first started talking about it. I want clarity as much as possible.
And this has affected budgets already.
Correct, actually, it's affected more than that. It's affected decisions whether to put up, whether you close your school or not. In a town, I can give you an example.
It's also already affecting jobs. People are getting let go because of this and not coming back to it next year.
If we did not sync them, are there any ramifications if we did not sync them?
Well, it comes down to more of having trust that, so we have a statute. We have a power given to the secretary to address this. But without building out the rules, I think that it's sort of open to interpretation. Sort of how the secretary works with schools. And sort of like, there's a lot of, what's a class? What's all the little stuff that's, somebody's best is a a combined classroom of 35 kids, but with two teachers, different than two separate classrooms. So for all those little things, which we could say, just let the AOE decide that on a case by case basis. And trust that everybody's going to work together, which, you know, I'd be just as comfortable with that as doing this.
I guess the main reason I ask is because it was either the Superintendent's Association or the School Board Association, I can't remember which one, wanted these implemented sooner than later. We had testimony.
Yes, but we said one of these, you mean class
One
size
is the
minimum.
class size minimum,
Yeah,
sooner than later.
yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, whether we do this or we don't, what we have on the books is fairly lenient. It's a 3-year it's a 3-year sort of rolling average reporting. And then a sort of like, let's all work together to see if we can find a solution for a couple of years. So we're now 5 years into it. You know, so it's already, I don't think this makes as much difference. The real power and impact of having it on the books, even though it is rather slow in enforcement, is that people are using it as a guideline as they go to budget, even though it's not. So there.
I mean, I'm not opposed to doing it, I do remember one of the organizations wanting it sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, the statute's there. And,
I don't think we're changing the timeline of the rules being written. I mean, we want them in place. We're looking for that. I'm just looking at Claire for the field
it's,
as they're making their decisions. I mean, to be fair, when school boards and communities make these really big decisions around that are driven by class size minimums, they're looking at birth rates in their communities. I mean, so they're looking out way ahead.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that we're being very thoughtful in our process to make sure that while they're being thoughtful, so are we.
okay, I also wasn't voting yay or nay here. Just want everybody to understand the purpose and make sure we were all paying attention to that. Since one of you at the very last moment is going to be asked to present this on the floor. Great, thank you.
Do you want to think, for now, are we keeping this either or option?
Yes. So that's everything that you have for us so far.
Correct.
So let me just tell everybody what else might go in here. We have had a request from the agency, which Beth has been going back and forth with to get some more information. They would like the power to be able to do background checks on their staff, especially staff that is working within schools. This gets into sort of state level HR stuff. Like who does background checks and can an agency do its own background checks? So anyway, that's being looked at. I think it's for efficiency's sake, so that they can get their own people doing what they need to do in the field as quickly as possible. Coupled with that, we've had a request from the outside from a nonprofit that deals with child abuse prevention to say, how about also any contractor working for the AOE in a school in contact with children should at least have a minimal criminal background check. They call it level 1 criminal background check. And this was based on a case now a few years old where a photographer had been in the school taking pictures. Things ended up on the internet that were inappropriate. It did not end up being a criminal matter, so the person didn't have a criminal background. It wouldn't have been caught in a criminal background, it ended up being a civil matter because I think it was an expired crime too much time had passed. But anyway, it did bring up the question of why not just do at least a minimal background check on contractors hired by the AOE working in schools. So also looking into that.
Because that's something that does not exist currently. That would be a new, right?
To the best of our knowledge, does not exist currently. Yeah. So that's one more thing in there. Yeah.
And can I add for consideration something?
Sure.
That early college is just for public post-secondary institutions.
Early college is just,
For public post-secondary institution.
maybe a tougher dive. There is, so yes, in terms of things that we are looking at adding, one, I think there are a lot of questions with early college that especially Rep. Radius brought up. So I think that there is going to be a request for a study, dive into some of these issues. That's a kind of I would say that's bigger than maybe a miscellaneous ed bill, even its level of consequence, but also should probably be something about what's the impact of that. Unless people are like, hey, sounds good, let's do it. Would that affect anybody besides Norwich, do you know?
No. Because right now, early college is only the Vermont State College University System, CCB, and Norwich.
And Norwich, okay, it does not include, Middlebury,
All of those are.
yeah.
I like the idea, but I can see the argument to consider it as part of a bigger dive into that topic.
I think we need to make sure we do take that dive. This is a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
I've asked the question, I just reached out to the principal at Montpelier because we heard someone testify this afternoon. About how last year it was our senior class. This year it's their senior class that's decimated by early college, and I'd really like the breakdown. Decimation of a small school like Montpelier is a little different from ours, but like, how many kids are we talking about who went to early college?
yeah,
And of those, how many of those kids went to Norwich?
Yeah.
Because she said that 0% of them. 0% of them,
I think in the previous year, 0%.
what? Wouldn't have qualified for free and reduced lunch, like, how did she say?
Yeah, it was.
so,
Yeah.
well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wasn't reaching I think they're, as a school, it's 18%. And then the one year she was talking about, it was 12%. And then the very next year, it was 0%.
Yeah.
As far as early college went. But across the board for their school, it's 18%.
That was interesting.
So it's the wrong.
So,
the
yeah,
wrong
let's all
kids
think
taking
about,
advantage of the system.
I do think we're going to end up with a study about early college, obviously, as I said, Rep. Brady's got a lot of questions. So let's not lose sight of that. All right, any other thoughts? Well, we're gonna hold this till next week. So we've all got a full week of time off to think about that as well.
Right, exactly. We get a little more information about the first thing that the agency was asking to add is for this background checks further.
For their own employees, yes, once the language is in here, we'll have that come back and present it. Like everything we do, it's more complicated than it sounds.
Yeah.
All right,